Find out where the biggest threat exists today. Rising waters. People living along some of the Great Lakes are preparing for the worst.
We had carp swimming between my feet in the yard.
Lightning strikes twice. A Washington homeowner has proof that old adage just isn't true.
Boom, just this huge explosion, and wood chunks started flying over the house.
Shake, shake, shake. Can an all-wooden building hold up in a powerful earthquake?
In the moment, a little scary. Afterwards, celebratory.
And does your dog suffer from seasonal allergies?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I am Angela Brown. Here we go again. Another round of large hail falling from the sky, this time in Denver on Wednesday, causing major damage like to this car window right here in Erie, north of Denver. East of the city in Aurora, hail pelted and piled up on the ground. The FAA issued a ground stop at Denver International Airport. More than 40% of all flights arriving or departing were delayed or canceled. But Mother Nature was not done. Tornadoes were also reported in the northeastern part of the state, prompting the National Weather Service to issue the first tornado warning of the year for the region. So far, no reports of damage or injuries. The storm is expected to push through the area until Friday with threats of tornadoes, thunderstorms, and even flooding. The threat of severe weather moves east today with the greatest risk of storms right here in Kansas and central Oklahoma, including Oklahoma City. The National Weather Service says large hail and a few tornadoes can be expected, along with damaging winds. As you can see right here, all of the plains in the south have at least a marginal risk for storms. So stay alert and pay attention to the forecast throughout the day. If anyone is used to severe weather, it's folks living in Kansas. But one man was still caught off guard when a tree fell on his home earlier this week, trapping him inside. We'll get more from Eli Higgins.
Kind of shook up, just kind of like not really sure what to do next.
Esteban Basarel was at home in Riverside when the storm hit Wichita Tuesday afternoon. Like most Kansans, it's something he's used to, and he didn't think twice about it. But when he got up to use the restroom, he realized something wasn't right.
I was in the bathroom looking out the window, and I saw the trees swaying back and forth, but like a little harder than normal.
Next thing he knew,
the house started to shake, and it immediately became clear that this was some bigger thing.
This massive tree fell through his roof, right where he was just sitting. But he says the scariest part is when he tried to get out.
The door, it looked fine, but it wouldn't budge.
Firefighters had to climb up and bust out this window to rescue him. Thankfully, he had no injuries, but the danger was far from over. Huge explosions from the transformer just above his house caused small fires. Firefighters had to watch closely while waiting for Evergy to shut it off. Basarel says while he's grateful to be alive, he knows it will be a long road to recovery.
I don't know, still processing it.
Day by day, the waters of Lake Ontario are rising. Cheyenne Walker reports some residents of Greece, New York are taking a lesson from recent history and are preparing for the worst.
We'd be stupid to pretend like it's never going to happen again.
Susan Albright is referring to the flooding in 2017 and 2019 that caused her more than $160,000 in damage.
We flooded in the front, we flooded in the back. Our yard was under a couple feet of water. We had carp swimming between my feet in the yard.
The current lake level is just shy of 247.5 feet. Greece Town Supervisor Bill Rylick says neighbors don't need to be concerned unless it reaches 248 feet.
It looks like the lake will peak over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We do not expect any levels near 19 or 17 levels, and the peak will be a very brief period.
The town has made changes since that record flooding, including investments in new sewer and storm lines and a berm along Edgemere Drive to prevent street flooding. The town put 30 shutoff bells on the stormwater drains.
Now, on the other hand, it is Mother Nature, and even the best weatherman cannot predict the weather very much into the future. But again, based upon all that we're seeing right now, it looks like we should be in pretty good shape going forward.
Now to flooding in Utah. Things are turning into a catastrophe for a farmer who could lose entire fields of crops because the Bear River is spilling over its banks. Paul Nielsen fills us in on the waiting and the worrying in a flood-prone Utah city.
With flooding that looks like this, it's hard to know where the Bear River is supposed to end and farm fields are supposed to begin.
And on that tree line is supposed to be the peak of the riverbank on the other side.
Alex Ross with Ross Farms tells me more than a half dozen fields are either completely submerged or blocked off from flooded roads.
As it seeps through the bank, it's been flooding out our roadway here. We've been running a pump to pump it back into the river to try to make it where we can get over to those hay fields over there.
But for now, there's waterfowl where hay should be growing and people can fish where cows should be grazing, all on an area that normally produces 100 to 120 bales per acre.
So they'll just sit as a dead field. We might be able to salvage some of the fields, but not all of them.
This has Ross extremely worried.
Definitely creates a lot of stress, keeps you up at night.
Some state officials don't believe these floods will have a major impact on the cost of hay or other crops, but what can be done to save the crops? Nothing really. Ross tells me that even if all of this magically dried out by tomorrow, it's still too late in the year for them to plant anything else.
There are far too many cases of people and pets being swept away in cold, rushing rivers. And every year, rescuers prepare for these types of situations by working to perfect their swift water techniques. In Utah, Lincoln Graves got to witness their training at the Provo River.
It's really a team effort to go up against something as powerful as a cold, rushing river. These men and women will often brace themselves against the water in groups as they slowly move across. Perhaps you've jumped in cold water before and felt the shock, but officials say falling into a river like this is exponentially worse. You really have little to no control.
It's a near-death experience, right? There's no way to prepare anyone to get into moving water like this and be able to breathe and sustain that.
The real danger in a river like this, and most of the rivers along the Wasatch Front that are running fast right now, is blunt force trauma. And that's the scary part about being in a river like this, is you will get crushed against rocks and logs.
Well, Salt Lake County Undersheriff Jake Peterson says that although rescue is the goal, in situations like this, it's more often a recovery operation because conditions are so harsh. The danger doesn't disappear as spring runoff calms down, but right now at least, it is particularly dangerous, especially for kids and pets. Now, if you do fall into rushing water, there's two pieces of advice officials have. One, don't stand up. Your feet or your legs could get caught in rocks or debris, causing you to fall over and your legs still be trapped. They also say try to get on your back with your feet facing downstream and backpedal toward the shore if you can.
Lightning never strikes the same place twice, or does it? Well, you're about to meet a Washington homeowner who wishes she did not have the proof that it can. Christopher Mitchell has the story.
There's the first hit, and then my poor dog runs like a bullet.
Kim Conklin shows us the moment a lightning bolt struck her tree, captured by a neighbor's security camera. Just 14 seconds later,
right there,
the second bolt hits, more powerful than the first.
It's like, wow.
Before Monday's storm erupted, Kim and her son Andrew were outside doing yard work. She went inside. Andrew, still outside, about to finish the last bit of mowing.
Then when it was raining really hard, so I decided to stop and continue to mow.
And all of a sudden, just boom, just this huge explosion, and wood chunks started flying over the house.
Then the lightning struck, and then my heart was racing.
I got really scared because I knew that Andrew was still in the back mowing the lawn. It was a very scary moment, but he was okay. I was really glad.
As for the tree, the lightning bolt carving scars deep into the tree's bark from top to bottom. Damage to Kim's house kept to a minimum.
The only thing that happened in the house is my Alexa is no more, and the back outlets need to be replaced.
Kim considers themselves lucky.
Oh, when I saw that the lightning hit the tree twice, I had goosebumps. They always say lightning doesn't strike twice, but it sure did.
And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll head to San Diego for a look at how researchers are testing materials to make buildings more earthquake resistant. Plus, we'll have a lesson on how raindrops get their shape. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti. We look at the Northeast. The Northeast has midsummer-like temperatures in the coming days here. Afternoon temps today are going to surge back into the upper 70s and low 80s. There's the slight risk for an afternoon shower. That chance is greatest in New England. Expect a lot of sunshine, though, with low humidity as well. Now, we have a greater risk for a shower, perhaps a rumble of thunder on Friday. That's about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Friday looks to be another warm day with highs surging back into the 70s and low 80s. Enjoy.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Starting off with 60s to near 70 degrees at 9 a.m. Lots of sunshine, going to pump the temperatures up well into the 70s to right around 80 degrees in the afternoon. So really just a beautiful day, really from front to back, as sunshine keeps us warm. Fair weather high pressure is going to be our main weather maker, and that will actually continue into much of the day on Friday as well. The dry skies and warm temperatures. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast. Highs in the 80s across the area as we continue to see warm temperatures across parts of the southeast. Atlanta 83, 84 Mobile, 93 the hot spot in Tampa, 83 West Palm. Looks like we'll see sun and clouds mixed in with the chances for some showers. Heavy storms across the Mississippi River Valley, looking up around Memphis and also north of Jacksonville. A line of showers and thunderstorms from Atlanta stretching down through west of Jacksonville as we head in through the evening hours through the day.
Smoke from the wildfires in western Canada is still blowing into the northeastern U.S. Folks can see hazy, milky skies behind the Marshall Point Lighthouse along Maine's mid-coast. The smoke also lingering in the skies over the mid-Atlantic, including Washington, D.C. The good news here is that since the smoke is so high in the atmosphere, it's not having a big impact on air quality. Modern hurricane records go back to the 1800s, giving us a brief snapshot of historical storms. But scientists are now using blue holes in the Caribbean to study ancient hurricanes. We're talking thousands of years old. Emily Gracie spoke to one of the researchers about what a blue hole is and how it has become a portal to the past.
A blue hole is a cave that has been dissolved into the limestone. The roof collapses and then sea level overtakes it. So it's effectively a hole in the bottom of the ocean.
How can you look in a blue hole and see a historical record of ancient hurricanes?
As the ocean sea level rise overtakes it, sediment just starts piling in. And normally it's pretty fine grained sediment that's just driven by the normal tidal currents and things like that. When a hurricane comes, it mobilizes lots of very coarse sediment and dumps that into the hole. And so it shows up as a very anomalous deposit in the hole. And so we're able to take very long sediment cores in these blue holes and reconstruct the history of these hurricane event beds.
So how do you get down into the blue holes?
We typically use a big vibrating can. It's called a vibracore, and it's basically like attaching a big long straw to a big vibrating beer keg, and you just vibrate the straw into the bottom. And it's sort of like putting a straw in a milkshake and putting your thumb over the top and pulling it out, and the straw's full of milkshake. But in this case, it's full of mud from the bottom of the blue hole.
Can you give me any information as to what hurricanes 2,000 years ago may have been like?
There's really quite a bit of pattern in how these things are happening in time. So that the probability isn't stationary through time. There are some intervals that are much more active than others. And so we're trying to sort of figure out exactly what are driving those trends.
Any fun surprises?
Well, in one hole, this was actually a sinkhole that was right at the edge of the Abaco Island in the Bahamas. We took a core in there. In the middle of this core, was what we determined to be the top of a human tibia. And it's pre-Columbian. It dates to about 1300 AD. But that's definitely the strangest thing we've ever come up with in the Gore.
Researchers are conducting earthquake tests with the tallest building ever on a shake table. This project pushes for widespread use of laminated wood in tall buildings in earthquake-prone regions. Jackie Kent has more on what researchers are taking away from the test.
A 120-foot tall mass timber building withstands 2 earthquake simulations in a span of 5 minutes.
In the moment, a little scary. Afterwards, celebratory.
UW researcher Jeffrey Berman is in charge of designing the building's earthquake force resistance system. He was on the ground for Tuesday's tests in San Diego.
Proof of concept that sustainable mass timber buildings in high seismic zones can perform really, really well in large earthquakes.
The first simulated the strength of the 6.7 magnitude Northridge quake of 1994. And the second was the equivalent of the 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Taiwan in 99.
It's definitely like the tallest fully mass timber building. We have no concrete or steel like structural elements.
UW doctoral student Sarah Wichman reports the top of the structure moved about a foot, and the entire building was undamaged. She says that's a better result than tests of similar reinforced concrete buildings. Researchers will use the data from Tuesday's simulations to refine their computer models so that builders can predict how similar structures can hold up in the event of an earthquake. This 10-story building was designed to be located in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood.
There are no such projects underway yet, but that's the hope, is to spur that.
We have all heard that raindrops falling from the sky have the classic teardrop shape. However, this isn't entirely true. Turns out this is a long-held weather myth. So let's turn to meteorologist Mitchell Combs to debunk the myth and dive into the science behind what raindrops actually look like.
The shape of the raindrop is determined by 3 factors: the surface tension of the raindrop, the airflow or pressure on the underside of the raindrop as it falls, and the size of the raindrop, often determined by the amount of collisions with other raindrops within the cloud. While the classic teardrop shape does occur, it only happens when water is dripping slowly, similar to as it drips out of a faucet. The forces acting on a raindrop when it's falling from the clouds thousands of feet in the air are quite different. Smaller raindrops, less than 1 millimeter in diameter, are often perfect spheres because the surface tension of the raindrop wins out over the pressure from below. As the raindrop increases in size, its fall velocity increases as well. This results in an increase in pressure from below, which starts to transition the shape from a sphere to more of an elongated oval, similar to a hamburger bun. The largest raindrops are the most unique. At around 4.5 millimeters and larger, the pressure on the underside of the raindrop becomes so great that it distorts the shape of the raindrop to something more similar to a horseshoe or parachute. These parachute-like raindrops can even lose their surface tension, separating that raindrop into 2 separate smaller raindrops, beginning the cycle again. In general, the larger the raindrop, the greater the pressure acting on it from below, and this decreases the surface tension of the raindrop itself. Now you know the next time it rains that raindrops aren't that classic teardrop shape.
Bryce Canyon in Utah is a well-known hiking spot, but officials are now warning that rock slides are more of a problem than previously thought, partially due to this year's weather. Plus, a fault line in the park appears to be more active than officials estimated. Paul Nielsen has more on a recent survey.
The survey was led by geologist Tyler Knudsen. He studied the area for 2 years using satellite imagery to see where slides had been happening. He says they found new areas where slides had happened that they didn't know about.
We've actually previously have partnered with both Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, Zion National Park, to complete geologic hazard mapping for those parks.
Luckily, most of those are in spots that hikers don't really use, but he says the data shows the Pontotoc Fault is far more active than they previously knew.
Through this study, we were able to discover some new evidence that shows that this fault should be considered a hazardous fault.
Former Bryce Canyon physical scientist Tara Olstad says they knew their old way of tracking slide activity needed an upgrade.
There are a lot of areas, especially the Under the Rim Trail that goes all the way from Bryce Point in the north down to Rainbow Point in the south. We hadn't there aren't enough people out there with eyes and ears on the ground.
With this new research, Olstad says park officials can know better what areas to close off until the ground stabilizes.
When you find new problem areas, how does the park keep hikers safe?
Park will close things like 2 bridges, or the whole Navajo Loop if we're afraid of any sort of hazard, but we hadn't necessarily been thinking about it for the entirety of the park.
Time now for a short break. As we go, we leave you with aerial views of farmers hard at work.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Take a look at your weather story across the Midwest today. We've got scattered showers and storms across a lot of the plains. This will all slowly be drifting towards the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes heading into your Friday, as you can see here. So again, scattered rain for a decent amount in the Midwest on Friday. Take a look to your Saturday. We got some rain across the plains there, and what's in the Ohio Valley slowly drifting its way to the south as we head into your Saturday.
Well, a good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and we're starting off with a few thunderstorms in Arkansas with our area of low pressure. The afternoon, keep an eye out Oklahoma City for a chance for a couple heavy storms. Otherwise, 80s, 90s, Texas, 83 New Orleans could see a couple thunderstorms there into near the Gulf Coast. And then Friday, late day, another area of low pressure coming in. That's going to be kicking up widespread shower storms across Texas for Mother's Day weekend.
Hi there and a happy Thursday to you, everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Heading into the middle of May, and the heat is on here in the desert Southwest. Back to 90 out of Phoenix today, 88 out of Las Vegas, 70 starting to work their way back up into the Pacific Northwest, and this heat just getting started. Current weather maker, this area of low pressure spinning over the Rockies, a chance for some monsoonal moisture there. And in the meantime, sunshine and warmth from Nevada into Montana. And that's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, we have talked a lot about allergies this spring season, but humans are not the only ones suffering. Your pets can have a lot of the same symptoms as well. Here's veterinarian Devin Smith with more.
While I certainly love that warmer temperatures are here, spring and summer can be tough times for my dogs with seasonal allergies. In dogs, allergies generally manifest as red or itchy paws, itchy flanks, and itchy ears, often accompanied by a secondary ear infection. Unfortunately, just like with people, we don't generally have a cure for allergies. However, we do have tools available to help reduce and manage those obnoxious clinical signs. Historically, steroids were the go-to, but in the last decade, we have newer drugs available to help mitigate the clinical signs of allergies without those annoying side effects of steroids. Talk to your veterinary professional about which options are best for your pet. If you ever have questions when it comes to what's best for your pet's health, I also recommend reaching out to your local veterinary professionals. We'd also love to see your favorite pet moments that you can share with our community. Go to our news app, click Explore, chime in, and upload your Petastic photos.
And once again, you can share your pet photos with us on social media. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we take a look at the possible record-setting heat that could hit the western U.S. this weekend. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.